He's big, he's purple, and he turned to dust quicker than you can blink. No, we're not talking about that grape you found rotting under your bed last week. Ew. But Thanos, of course. He may be gone from the MCU, but could he have joined forces with Annihilus to ensure his plan succeeds? We live in a world where pineapple on pizza seems like a good idea, so this really isn't that nuts. Annihilus loves a rip-roaring round of destruction just as much as the next bad guy. Thanos could have liked the look of his resume enough to hire him on the spot. Let's see how this unmatchable supervillain could be taking over sooner than you think. Ah, Thanos. He came, he saw, he conquered. Then he bit the dust, of course, but still, he tried his hardest. As far as villains go, the Mad Titan is the supreme, reigning over pretty much every bad guy that we'd ever seen before. He had such an air of confidence, such power, such extreme dedication to his goals that he was intimidating, unnerving, and, well, just plain awesome. Over the course of his career in the MCU, he laid waste to half of all life in the universe, for goodness sake. You really don't get much better than that, do you? From the moment he first locked eyes with the Avengers, or should we say, in Thor's case, he had them scared. And that's no small feat. Not that we need to remind you, but he really did what he said he was gonna do, even sacrificing his own daughter for the cause. The best thing about Thanos is that he truly believed what he was doing was for the greater good. It's only dusting half of all living things in the universe. When doesn't that seem like a good idea in his book? When the gang got back together to rectify the snap situation in Endgame, Thor chopped off his head, finally making up for that missed shot at the end of Infinity War that had us all screaming at our screens. Even that didn't stop him though, as the former version of Thanos came back and went in for a hearty round 2, before Iron Man put a stop to his plans once and for all. You have to give it to the purple brute, his anguish literally knows no bounds. Now, we know he's gone for good and he's never coming back into the MCU. That's a given. Kevin Feige has milked his storyline until it's cracked and dry. But that doesn't necessarily mean Thanos' influence is dead and buried along with him. When you get a character this powerful, do they ever truly go away? Just when you think they're done lording over the universe, they come back to bite you in the behind. In Endgame, it certainly looked like Thanos was done. However, what did he do during that time after the snap and before the Avengers got their act together? He was alone on that planet for 5 years with the stones, and what? We're supposed to believe he just destroyed them and plowed his fields all that time? No, he's a mastermind, and typically they like to hang around each other. Thanos may have reached out to someone that is even more dastardly than he is to ensure the longevity of his plan. Annihilus. What, when, how, where? Don't fear, gentle viewers. We're about to reveal all in this theory that might just break the internet, or at least your perception of the next couple of phases of the MCU, but that's enough for us. As much as we'd like to believe that Thanos really did have one purpose and one purpose alone, he's not exactly the predictable type. We all thought he'd come up against a stumbling block with Gamora on that cliff, but he surprised us all. Turns out he really did have a heart. With that being said, thinking that he just sat back and cooed his heels for all those years after the snap could be naive. Let's just say that he gets bored one long Sunday afternoon and decides to use the time stone to take a look at the future. Maybe he wants to see how the universe has replenished itself and flourished with fewer inhabitants. He would see exactly what Doctor Strange saw, and he would know that it all goes to pot. What's an evil genius to do with all that information? Call on another evil genius, of course. Maybe he picked up the intergalactic telephone and called Annihilus, charging him with completing the mission. The insectoid ruler of the negative zone would only be too happy to respond, judging by what we've seen in the comics. His biggest impact came when he broke through the negative zone with his homies in tow in the Annihilation storyline. By homies, we mean a huge, scary-looking troop of spaceships that meant business, of course. He ripped through the main universe and created such destruction that Thanos himself would have been in awe. In fact, he was, because he was there. Knowing that those pesky kids eventually managed to stop him in the future, Thanos could have asked Annihilus for help. Seeing as he's virtually unstoppable and has a thirst for crushing the entire universe, Thanos would love him. He's got a work ethic that he could easily vibe with. Plus, at the end of Endgame, it had gone beyond Thanos' original goal and gotten personal for the Mad Titan. He was so incensed by the Avengers' refusal to give up that he was going to destroy everything, not just half of it. By seeing what goes down through the time stone, he's probably really peeved. Wouldn't you be if you put your entire existence into this plan, only to have it taken away by a human in a tin can and America's ass? Rather than stop the chain of events leading to the point by using the stones, Thanos might have wanted to play with them. Revenge is a dish best served cold, isn't it? Sending a threat as ginormous as Annihilus to the Avengers after giving them some time to feel like they won is the coldest. It's nothing short of a grade A, top-shelf quality despicableness that makes for great cinematic experience. And isn't that what the MCU is all about? Our heroes would never see it coming. Heck, they never saw Thanos coming until he was right on top of their ship. Thanos would probably be okay with meeting his maker if he knew he would still get one up on the thorns in his side. As for Annihilus, he wouldn't have needed to be sold on the plan. After a meeting with Thanos, they could have easily found common ground and come to some sort of arrangement. Thanos could have used the stones to magic up whatever it was Annihilus might have asked for in return, if he asked for anything at all, that is. As we've already touched upon, this guy gets off on bringing the pain. He's probably just glad of having something to take aim at. However, going along those lines, Thanos could pull some impressive weapon out of thin air for his new comrade to use in his fight against the Avengers. It's only natural that he would want to give Annihilus the best chance at beating his foes, so why not do what he can when he can? It's not even as if these two haven't crossed paths before, as they appeared in the same comic. The connection is there if Marvel wants to draw on it. It's primed and ready to go, but if it happens, when? We already have a vague outline of what's coming up in Marvel's Phase 4. There's a surprise edition of Blade, which Daywalker fans are chomping at the bit to get to, another Doctor Strange, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and of course the hotly anticipated Black Widow movie, plus much more. It's highly likely that if this Annihilus story does kick in, it won't happen until Phase 6. Why? Because Thanos' own arc was over 3 phases too, and it seemed to work out pretty darn well. If Annihilus does turn out to be the new big bad of the MCU, there is a lot of material to be drawn from. Thanos could simply be a gateway for him to make an appearance. So for those of you who don't know much about the original Annihilation storyline, let's do a brief run-through. Hold on to your hats, because it's a wild ride that sees us travel all over space and time. You should be used to it by now. In the grand scheme of things, Annihilation is a relatively new story for Marvel. First published in 2005, it focuses on multiple space-related heroes, bringing them all together in a beautiful cacophony of events. Drax the Destroyer and Silver Surfer are just two of our good guys trying to stop Annihilus as he pounds the universe to a pulp. Interestingly though, Thanos is involved in the proceedings too, and it's Galactus that ultimately defeats the pesky nuisance. Of course, loads of stuff goes down that we don't have time to get into here, but it's a special storyline that is on par, dare we say even better, than the Infinity Saga. A ton of characters have an important part to play, but one of the most interesting ones is Nova. Richard Rider is a member of the Nova Corps, a kind of intergalactic police force that helps out when needed. Not only is the idea of the Nova Force really intriguing, but the entire band of do-gooders gets destroyed by Annihilus' fleet. Only Rider survives. When his buddies are all wiped out, he allows the AI consciousness World Mind to download itself into him, so the knowledge is kept safe. After the two come together, Richard Rider is basically given the upgrades of all upgrades and becomes Nova Prime. He's able to control the power of the Nova Force, while also staying on an even keel. After all, that much info would typically send a guy over the edge. We can barely keep on top of our shopping list, let alone eons of critical information. Nova's the kind of character that doesn't come along too often. Not only is he powerful, but his backstory gives him enough depth and substance to work on screen. There's a reason why only a select handful of heroes make their way into the MCU. There needs to be enough to work with, and that goes beyond how hard they can punch or how fast they can fly. With Nova dealing with the devastating loss of everything he's ever known, it gives him the emotional purpose to lead the charge against Annihilus. We all know how Marvel likes to gradually introduce a huge threat in the background before letting it all explode. They did it so wonderfully with Thanos that it's kind of expected standard now. All of the threads interweave so beautifully together that it's a sight to behold. This theory might sound like something we've spent way too much time conjuring out of thin air on sleepless nights, but think about it. 5 years is an awfully long time for any mad titan to be picking fruit and staying fulfilled. Would you just kick back and enjoy the sunset when you had the entire power of the universe in your giant purple hands? If you just answered yes, well then you're telling porky pies. It's in Thanos' very nature to be proactive. Everything he ever did had a method, a step, a reason to it. He was so focused on his goals, and he was a master tactician. We all know how keen he was on bringing balance to the universe, so surely he would have thought about other ways to do that if he saw he ultimately failed. Yeah, okay, he wasn't in the business of asking for help from people, but Thanos slaughtered his own daughter for goodness sake. If he's willing to make sacrifices like that, he would have been willing to swallow his pride and hit up Annihilus. If Marvel does go down this route, it's a way to introduce not just a new supervillain, but an entirely new saga in a way that holds true to the events that have already happened. There's been a huge shakeup in the Avengers with the loss of Black Widow, Captain America, and Iron Man. Marvel is already replacing these characters by giving older ones more importance and bringing in some new faces. By pulling on the comics even more as Phase 4 moves into Phase 5 and Phase 5 moves into Phase 6, it's a tactical move. It keeps moviegoers interested while also seeing squeals of excitement from avid fans of the comic books. In short, if this storyline isn't already in the works, then it absolutely should be. Thanos might be gone, but his reach extends far across the galaxy, even from beyond the grave. After all, you didn't think he'd just let them get away with it that easy, did ya? This theory could be true because, frankly, battles in space are way cooler than those on land. Not that we're dissing the Battle of New York, but spaceships just appeal to our inner geek like no other. Our favorite part has to be the introduction of Nova. What do you think? Sound off in the comments and let us know if you've got any ideas yourself. Be sure to hit the subscribe button before you go and give this video a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.